Kingsley, why should we listen to this episode today?
If you want to learn how to change money into money, then you need to listen. Serenity Now.
Hi, and welcome to Serenity Now, a place for entrepreneurs to ask questions, learn, get connected, and be inspired. Join us as we talk about all things business and the search for the ever-elusive Serenity Now in both business and personal life.
Welcome back to another episode of Serenity Now for Entrepreneurs. My name is Rita, and I'm joined by my fabulous co-hosts, Candace. Hello.
Hello.
And
hi, Rita.
Hey. And Peggy, welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
Yes, and today we're diving into a really cool topic, buying into a business. If you've ever dreamed of entrepreneurship but didn't want to start from scratch, or maybe didn't want to buy the whole entity, we're going to show you a way where somebody actually did this. So this episode might be worth tuning into. We have our guest today, which is Kingsley Leung. He's a senior FX or foreign exchange broker at a place called Agility Forex. He's got several decades of sales experience, and he's here to share his journey about what he's learned and maybe some insights, some tips, and probably some good advice. And maybe we got a few laughs along the way. We've already had a few of them already. So I just wanted to say welcome. Welcome, Kingsley.
Thank you so much for the three of you. Thank you for the lovely introductions. I don't know if I know that much. I feel like the last 20 years has been a dream or nightmare. I don't know.
We're still deciding. I know. We do that every once in a while. Kingsley, why don't you start with sharing a little bit about your background and who you are? I didn't do the best of the possible intros I could for you, but please go ahead.
No worries. Thank you again for having me on the podcast. So I was born in Ottawa and quickly moved to Edmonton after I was 1 year old and essentially raised in the Edmonton, Alberta area. And I went to U of A for business school. And my first degree was actually in political science because, of course, a good Edmonton, Asian Alberta boy, I wanted to be in politics. Not.
Of course.
So I was a little disillusioned after I graduated, couldn't find a job. So I decided to go back to school. And that's when I got my business degree at the U of A, majoring in marketing. And it was actually at that time after I graduated that I started, and this is going to be revolutionary for many people, but I started the very first Facebook that you didn't hear about. So a business partner of mine and another fellow student from the U of A, we started a company called campustv.com. And what this was essentially was linking up all the different schools and universities throughout Canada to find out what's going on in Halifax or what's going on in Carleton University or UBC. And it was just trying to keep in touch with the student vibe. We did that for a number of years with some ups and downs, and we decided to sell the rights for that name 3 or 4 years later and got out of it. Since then, I wouldn't say I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I've been involved in sales and marketing for the bulk of my existence since then. And I came across a company. I'm not gonna mention the company because of various reasons. But I got myself into this foreign exchange business. Was with one company for about 16 years, and then just recently, within the last couple of years, decided to make the move over to Agility Foreign Exchange. And this is where I'm at today.
Great. Okay, so when you were looking at Agility Forex, the whole idea of buying into a business, is that something that struck you a long time ago, or was that something that just happened? Walk us through that kind of opportunity that you had there.
No, that's a good question. I think most people and most entrepreneurs that I know, they always want to start something that is impactful, something that is not only meaningful for them, but meaningful and helpful for others. For myself, in terms of entrepreneurship, I don't think I ever wanted to start my own business again, or I wasn't really wanting to start something from scratch anymore, but I wanted to invest my time in growing something. And so when I was with previous company, like I said, building that business for almost 16 years, and then didn't have any ownership piece. By the time I left that company, there was nothing offered for me. Not that I thought that I deserved anything, but after building this company essentially from scratch, I felt like, well, is this really the place for me if they don't really value people like myself? And I wasn't the only one who felt this. That's the first time where I felt undervalued, and I really wanted to be in an organization or be in an entity where I can actually make a difference and have an ownership piece to that. And that's where we came across Agility, and we met with the owners of Agility at the time. They were looking to grow their business. They were head officed in Vancouver. They really wanted to grow the rest of the country and have some presence in prairies and out east. And that's when a small group of us decided to take on the venture and said, you know what? We would love to help grow your business because we know the business so well. We're experts in this field, but we want to have that ownership piece. We want to be able to say, you know, I'm going to place my stake with you through thick and thin and make a difference, right? Everyone wants to make a difference. And I think we do in terms of what we do on a day-to-day basis.
We have to feel that, right? Like we've got to secure our identity with something, right? And then that leads to legacy and everything else. So, okay. Well, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I do actually. I also went through a sale, but some offers I had for partners to come into my company, and it was kind of awkward and cumbersome. How did your structure look when you bought into the company?
Well, if I can back up for just a second, because I think it's important to understand that my mindset before I went into this contract, I may not look it, but I'm 51 years old.
No.
Youngster.
And the reason why I say that modestly is because a lot of people feel they're always shocked at my age. I don't know why. I'm definitely feeling my age. You know, I have 3 young kids, 19, 15, and 15, and sometimes I really do feel my age. However, I'm that immature. That's what keeps me young.
It could be those beautiful Asian genes, though. Could be. Something to do with it.
So to answer your question, my mindset at the time was, I don't know if I necessarily want to make a move at my age and stage. I was pretty much at the top of my game with the other company, and I'm building a family. And do I really want to almost feel like start from scratch at my age and stage? But at the same time, the part of me that really wanted to help grow this company and start something new, that piece has never left me. That idea is what pushed me to look at different offers and negotiate with Agility. So the way that we did it is we basically told the 2 owners of the company, this is what we want. We want a piece of the action. We want to not have what we didn't have with the last company. And, you know, if in a few years, if we get sold, you know, and we 10x the company, great. Maybe that's our golden handshake at that point in time. But that wasn't really the end goal. It was more so we just wanted to be involved in a business where we can make an effect change from the top down.
Who's we, Kingsley?
So when I say we, the collective we is there were 6 of us that had left the previous company and joined Agility. Because we're such a tight-knit group here in Edmonton, we wanted to work together. We wanted to be in the same office. We wanted to grow this business together. We knew how each other individual works. We all have our own quirks, but we all have worked together for so long, and we wanted to continue that. And so we as a collective went to the owners and said, this is what we want. We want to be able to help you grow your business, but we want a piece of the action. We want to be able to affect change, make decisions, improve systems. And when we say and we suggest or recommend something, we'd like those to be heard. Whereas before, we were just a number, nothing was being heard. And our suggestions that could help clients, for example, were not being even considered. So we wanted to matter. We wanted to grow the business. We wanted to affect change. And so when we negotiated that with the owners, they saw our passion in that, which I think is important. But I think they saw that and they saw the value in what we could bring to the table for the company. It was funny because we asked the 2 owners, Andy and Dave, we asked them just recently, a couple of years ago when you brought us on, was this a smart decision looking back? And without hesitation, even though we were like, oh boy.
What are they going to say?
Yeah, without hesitation, they both unanimously said, best decision they could have ever made in this point in their company.
It was nice that you guys went as a group that already had that camaraderie, that already knew how to work together. I think they were very lucky to find a pod of people in one location that already understood the business, that wanted to be a part of their business. That's like golden.
Yeah.
And it's rare.
It's rare. Yeah, it's golden.
Most people don't like to work with each other.
And I'm thinking about the management structure for going from 2 people, which is pretty nimble, to 8 is my understanding, right? You went from 2 to 8.
Well, they had some people already in their head office in Vancouver. So there was already about 5 or 6 individuals that were already working for the company.
So they doubled it.
But there were
As owners, though?
No, not as owners,
Okay.
but just staff. But for them to open up all these different branches, like we're in Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg,
Oh,
Toronto,
okay.
and soon Montreal. So in order to have those branches, you need to branch out, and you need to have
Yeah.
a competent team to be able to do that. We do all the hiring now. We do all the vetting. We have the expertise in place to be able to build a brand new branch out east remotely. So these are all the things that I think we brought to the table that they see now as true value for the business, because we've been able to essentially give them a whole new revenue stream. So that was a really good moment for us when we checked in, and the owners basically said, one of the best decisions they could have ever made. The 6 of us as a collective, as I mentioned, we always check in with one another. And again, nobody has any regrets. Best decision we could have made. As a 51-year-old with 3 kids and building my family as well, this, again, was probably the best decision I could have made.
Probably very scary.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what were some of the things that you didn't anticipate, some of the challenges you ran into going from employee to owner?
That didn't really change in terms of how I dealt with customers, because I always deal with customers and my own personal clients in the same way, regardless. I've always been that way. So, whether you're doing smaller transaction or you have a massive multi-million-dollar transaction, I treat you both the same, right? I want to make sure that whatever I offer and promise to you, it's going to get done from A to Z. The biggest challenge has been the growth and the speed of growth. We essentially doubled our sales force within a year.
Yeah.
Growth
so
is hard.
with that comes a lot of HR challenges and hiring challenges.
Yeah.
Being able to travel to all the different branches to be able to do virtual meetings. There's a lot on the go, and our head of sales, who spearheads a lot of that, is the happiest but most stressed out guy that I know.
Jeez. So I'm going to just take it back a step. So I love the story. And like Peggy said, what a beautiful opportunity for both sides, it sounds like. And it sounds like everything's going well. But how did you guys figure out a structure? You said this is what we want. And like, how did you guys come to that? Was there due diligence, figuring out rules, figuring out, structures, legal, finance? We don't need to know the actual numbers of it all, but I'm sure everyone's curious. How did that happen?
We had a bit of an advantage because we've worked so well together and for so long at the previous company before we moved over to Agility. We already had a bit of a structure. So Steve, he's kind of like our head of sales. He's always kind of like been our manager. And I've always been the assistant branch manager. And then the rest of us are people who have just worked closely together over 10 plus years. So we already had that structure in place. So when it comes to, I suppose, if you look at hierarchy, or if you look at, again, I don't want to seem like it is a hierarchy, but we have our place. Steve's been around the longest. He's been our head of sales. So for him to transition into that role here at Agility seemed a perfect fit. I helped manage the branch. What I did before as the assistant branch manager, essentially that's what I'm doing right now. And then everyone works so well together as a team that everyone kind of knows where they fit in this whole organization. Now, when it comes to the ownership part, the 6 of us are all equal owners and shareholders of Agility. There are other stakeholders in place. There's a group called Central One that manages and processing hub for a lot of the credit unions in BC and Ontario. They own about 30% of Agility, and Agility's been around for almost 12 years before we even came on board. So they already had a bit of a structure in place. We came in and said, we know where we fit in the piece of Agility as a company, and they were very happy to have that structure continue on in terms of what we have today. And as shareholders in the company, as owners, to have that ownership piece was not only important to us, but it fits perfectly with the philosophy in terms of what the 2 owners here at Agility were looking for going forward.
Awesome.
Great. So it sounds like there was a lot of alignment, right? For their vision, your vision. There was already kind of, an exit and strategy, succession plan in place because they already had other people invested in the company as well. So to add you to the plate as you came in a team of 6. And so that was, I guess, fit in nicely into that puzzle, I guess. And so it worked out. You just don't hear this so often. We were waiting for, a challenge, Kingsley, but I guess we're not hearing anything. I will tell our listeners, I would like to let you know, I'm going to acknowledge that this one seemed pretty awesome, but it doesn't always work out that way. I'm just, got to put a disclaimer out. And it sounds like everything's going really well so far.
Yes and no. I mean, it always comes with its challenges, whether it's a legal challenge or whether there are things along the way that you have to deal with. But I don't think all the entrepreneurs and all the listeners out there, I don't think that they think that it's perfect. There's always going to be challenges with a new business. There's always going to be challenges when it comes to getting into an ownership role. But I think those challenges turns into opportunities. And that's what I think we've done here, is that we've taken a lot of the challenges along the way and just made them into opportunities and tried to remain positive and just grow. And that's what the owners of Agility wanted. They wanted growth. That's what we wanted for ourselves, the 6 of us, for our careers, but also personally. We wanted to grow as individuals. And this was the perfect marriage between everything, all the pieces.
Sounds
really
like
come
it.
together.
Sounds like you have a real, true entrepreneurial brain. You only remember the good parts.
Exactly. You know exactly what
It's
I'm
like giving.
talking about.
It's so amazing how we erase all those bad parts because we have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes the only way to keep going,
That's
right,
right.
Peggy?
That's right.
Okay, let's flip the script for a second. And there, we recently did an episode talking about the succession tsunami in Canada, whereby like 76% of businesses are being transitioned within the next decade. And the people that you bought, like the company you bought into, the sellers were kind of prepared. So what kind of advice would you maybe give to other sellers that are hearing this story going, wait, where's my pot of 6, that can buy into our company? Because we're in the midst of looking at succession planning. Is there some advice you could give them that these folks did so well over here?
I think it's 2 things. One of them is relationships and network. And second of all, which I'll expand a bit more, but relationships and your network is important. And the second thing is focusing on your company and the products or services that you offer. And it sounds very simplistic. And I've seen many companies go through the buy and sell process. And we have a lot of clients that go through that as well. And the ones that are the most successful, and I'll touch on the first thing that I mentioned, relationships and that network. You have to always constantly keep a positive network around you. People need to hear your story. If you're not telling your story to other people, whether it's through a networking group or your relationships with your coaches, your business coaches, or your friends and family, you're always selling something. It's the sale of that relationship that is the most important thing. If people hear about your story and they understand your passion for it, people are going to talk about it, and people are going to be like, you know what, that's a great business to invest in, or that's a great product and service I want to be involved with, or that's a great person that I see as a mentor or someone who I can see working for or working with. So I think it's the relationship and the network that you have around you that is really important for those who are thinking about succession planning or looking to transition out of a company. You need to let people know that you're awesome, right?
It's kind of like also your support team that you're talking about too as well, right? You said a positive network instead of the naysayers that sometimes get built around, right? So absolutely. I think that's the other piece of this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole Ted Lasso way of thinking. It's like, you don't need to be judgmental. Just be positive and have positive people around you. And your business, yourself, but let people know about that. And the second piece to that, besides relationship and network, is your company and your specific products and services. If you are doing something that is helping others, if you're doing something that's helping another business, so whether you're business to business or business to consumer, there has to be a component where you can be and share with others that, you made a difference, whether it's saving money on foreign exchange or whether it's managing someone's time, whatever the case may be. That is such an important concept. So if you are in a business and there are 100 other competitors that are doing the same thing in your space, what is it that you're doing that's more unique than anybody else? Those are the stories that I think a lot of people don't tell as often, but they should, because it's the unique ones that really stand out. And people are like, you know what? I'd rather purchase this company or work with this company or want to have some sort of ownership piece with this company because they're doing something pretty amazing. And I want a piece of that.
I really like that. I think there's so many ways to share, but I think the easiest one that we can all connect and resonate with and relate to are the stories, the real, genuine, authentic stories. Oh no, are you guys going to be okay with other people wanting to say, hey, we'd like to all kind of come in and become owners of Agility Forex? Are you guys ready for that now? Because you're telling a story. Because I want to be a part of this really happy, positive team. No, you can't say that now. Then we've opened the door. So, Adam, are you listening?
I actually had a thought because, Kingsley's confessed to us his age. So, retirement's not like some foreign concept in your brain at this point, I'm thinking. So is the way that you came into the company replicatable so that you can exit the company? Mm-hmm. Have you got that in place?
Yeah, I think that, that's a good question. I think when you see kind of like that retirement piece down the road, when you structure the ownership piece or when you structure yourself into another entity, you definitely have that in place. You're always thinking about the end of the line. Like, what's my exit strategy here, right? I know that I'm just starting out this venture or I'm just buying into this company, but I think every entrepreneur out there always thinks about what's their exit strategy. Am I going to be here short term, long term? Am I just going to be building up this business and then just sell? So those are always the common questions for entrepreneurs getting into these things. For me personally, I knew that before, maybe in 10, 15 years time, we grow the business to a point where we are, as Rita had mentioned to me before, maybe our EBITDA is like so good that people want to gobble us up and buy us out. And, then I can have that golden handshake. That's my exit strategy. Or maybe I just continue to build this into such a place where I'm happy to just step away and be a silent partner, still a shareholder, but I don't really have much to do with the day-to-day. So I'm more than happy to do that because I love the business, I love the industry, I know it so well, and I love working with the people around me. So I can see myself working here long-term while having that ownership piece. So maybe I just come in and grab a paycheck once in a while. Once I retire. I don't know.
I don't think that'll be all you do, but it sounds like you'd be able to then mentor the next kind of pod of 6 or the next group that comes through to help you guys transition and hedge your risk as well, right? In the next little, 10 years or so. So that sounds awesome.
Well, I think we've hit that time in the podcast when we need to do a quick fire. So we're going to go around the room and just ask each person if they have anything additional to add or a thought that occurred to them at the end of this. Candice, what did you think?
Your story was interesting. I'm still a little bit shocked that the change management in going from 2 owners to 6 owners, or 8 owners, seems to be less of a challenge than it was. But yeah, no, I was really happy to hear your story today.
Thank you. We just had really good lawyers.
Probably true. Probably true.
How
about you, Rita?
Peggy, what was your...
mine? I like what you said about thinking about the end at the beginning, because when I went into business, I heard these words of wisdom: plan your way out when you plan your way in. And I've never done it, just saying, but I think it's really good wisdom. I still don't know how to get
Great
out.
advice you never followed.
And one day maybe you will. Or maybe it's these lawyers that we need to talk to again.
No idea. So. I've tried so hard to get out of this. I really have.
Well, before I say my last 2 cents, I'm going to give a chance to toss it over to Kingsley. And maybe if there's anything else you wanted to share, or one last piece of advice or just something interesting about yourself. We'll give you that opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Rita. The one thing that I've prided on myself, and many people have known me for 10 plus years, and they've always known me as the money guy. But I think it's my tagline that captures a little bit of uniqueness in terms of who I am. And I always tell people every time I meet them, or maybe I didn't do this to you, Rita, when I met you, so I apologize if I didn't do that. Oh my goodness. But my tagline as a foreign exchange broker is that I change money into money. It makes absolutely no sense. But it was actually my son that helped get that out of me many years ago, because he's like, I was trying to explain to him about markets and foreign exchange and, how to buy and sell. And essentially he's like, as a 12-year-old, he's like, so Dad, you just changed money into money? Big deal.
And then you took it and made it more dramatic, right? So.
Exactly. And that dramatic part of me, as you know, Rita, has carried forward in terms of what I do on the side. Is I'm also very much involved in community theater. I do musical theater. I do stage plays. I have one that's coming up at the Walterdale Theater from February 5th to 15th. I'm doing a show called King of the Yees.
Yeah.
It's an all-Asian cast. It's a very heartfelt, funny comedy, and I'm looking forward to that play. It's going to be amazing. Everyone should check it out.
Awesome.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I think I'm going to come check it out, Kingsley. I think we also talked a little bit earlier about, work to live or live to work. And at a certain time in life, we get to learn a little bit more about which way we want to play. And at the ages we are all at, I think we all know which way we want to go. And it sounds like you've kind of got it all, Kingsley. I don't know how this happened, but you are the ultimate success story here at this point in time. What a beautiful transition and move. You made a deal and said, this is what we want. And it all sounded like it just fit together in a beautiful puzzle, and things are working well right now. So thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. I think it's really cool because you are inspiring others to think maybe entrepreneurship isn't, I start from scratch or I buy the whole business that I'm thinking about. There's different ways to look at things, and we just find the right fit for you. So to our listeners, if you're inspired by Kingsley's journey and you want to connect with him maybe, or learn a little bit more about Agility Forex or that play he's in, I know, Kingsley, you'll send us the link so we can share all that and add it to the show notes and mark the play for February 2025, and that'll be fun. But until next time, from Candace, Peggy, myself, and Kingsley, this is Serenity Now for entrepreneurs, encouraging you all, maybe take a deep breath, seize the opportunities that are in front of us, and find your own path to success. As always, if you've enjoyed this episode, feel free to share and like, and maybe give it to a soon-to-be entrepreneur that you know, and perhaps you can all find some serenity now. Thanks, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and picked up some good tips and best practices that would benefit your entrepreneurial journey. Remember, none of the content in this podcast should be relied upon as standard legal or business advice. Always consult a professional for your specific business. You may know someone who could benefit from this podcast. Please share it with your business community, and perhaps it can give an entrepreneur you know some serenity now.